Within the normal codes and conventions of media text, there are always differences tackling the norm. With my products, I have stuck to the normal codes and conventions of each product in the same order to create recognizable content that audiences can accept and react to, but also at the same time, I have challenged these conventions slightly through creative input and experience to create a recognizable but unique content. My short film was the most challenging of normal film conventions. Due to previous experience with short film creation, I wanted to try a range of new shot types and techniques that I've previously not experimented with. Though I have developed on normal short film conventions of voiceover to develop the narrative. Due to the fact short film is brief, it is hard to demonstrate a form of narrative without the use of a voiceover. Thus, I stuck with this conventional short film as I thought it would be a serious risk of quality and my values and messages I wanted to promote. The mix of non-diegetic voiceover and non-diegetic acoustic soundtracks complement each other very well, while staying mostly conventional to short film techniques of sound mixing. This symbolically signifies an acoustic natural mood I wanted to present in my short film, which can also be understood by the setting I use, which is a mix between urban and quite natural setting. The way I edit clips was very conventional. I used similar colour correction that matched each shot, normal cuts and plain transitions. I also developed this convention further by using stabilizing tools to adjust shots to make them more conventional to short film, rather than a shaky camera shot that would not look pleasant with my product. My cut ranges in pace. This is an identical signifier of the mixed emotions my character is meant to feel in the camera remote, as the camera focuses on her head in the majority of the shots, signifying her head is the sense of disorganization. I used the techniques BBC show Sherlock used to film Fort. At the end of my short film, I challenged these concepts by editing, by fading the last few shots into each other, making it apparent it to be one continuous take. This signifies the conclusion and summary of my short film, as we see Olivia in each environment silently showing the end of the trail of thought. I used a range of different camera shots and movements to show a collaboration of disorganization. I did so to challenge the codes and conventions of short film, which usually contain a very quaint, minimalistic trait. Rather than developing these conventions, I used disjointed extreme close-ups with drone wide shots and snorri cams. These unconventional mix of shots with a mix of jump cuts signify the disjointed narrative structure I wanted to create, as I wanted to challenge the conventional narrative structure. A conventional narrative structure proposed by Todorov could be applied mostly to my short film though. The equilibrium in my short film is that the main character is left wanting to see her father one last time as he passed away. The disruption is how the main character is offered a form of chance to tell her father what she wants to say, and she turns to think about it. And the recognition of disruption is how Olivia is self-aware as she is not actually talking to her father though, rather than returning to a childlike state of emotion. The return to the equilibrium is how the voiceover is ended. In From Olivia formats the voiceover like a letter being written, putting further emphasis on how Olivia is aware she isn't talking to her father. Keeping to a narrative structure of film narrative makes my film extremely conventional. The reason for this, rather than a more creative piece, is so that content stays recognisable with audiences' idea of the genre iconography. My film falls under the genre of drama, though, as there is a dramatic climax that elicits a reaction of emotion to audience members. Iconographic of the drama is something that the audience can relate to and understand. This makes an audience always to be able to understand the storyline of the film, as they can relate to what is happening and be sympathetic towards the protagonist. The storyline of drama films are often like a journey, which ends in an unacceptable happy ending. Thus, I kept my work conventional to iconic drama codes, as it would seem more recognisable as content for the audience viewing my short film. For example, Andrew Goodwin stated how genre is related by the style of iconography presented. Thus, it was a simple decision when scripting the end of my short film. Though accepting genre conventions, audiences elicit a certain way. Encoding and decoding was proposed by Stuart Hall, who looked at the role of audiences' positioning in the interpretation of mass media texts by different social groups. Hull came up with a model suggesting 3 different ways in which we can read a media text. The first being dominant reading, which is predominantly explained through my short film. The audience reader fully accepts the preferred reading, and then the audience will read the text the way the author intended to, is what that means, so that the code seems natural and transparent. My short film does stay conventional to these codes of the genre, thus to be acceptable to audiences, making my work relatively successful to the social group intended, being an ABC1 demographic with access to the internet or high quality streaming services like YouTube or Vimeo or Dailymotion, aged between sort of 17 to 35. I targeted this demographic as my short film is about an unusual drama convention that isn't used much, being the main premises of death. Thus, to challenge this convention, I had to work to be meaningful to the audience to target it. My reasoning behind this was that the age. At this sort of age, grandparents and in some cases parents may be passing away or ill, so a sense of relevance in this text will be presented towards them. They may also be feel recognisable as a form of personal identity, which is an idea of the uses and gratification theory, finding reinforcement for personal values and finding models of behaviour identifying with valued other, gaining insight into oneself. Olivia acts as a model for individuals going through tough times of death. Also, interaction and social interaction, which is another form of using gratification theory, gained insight into circumstances of others. Social empathy, identifying which others and gaining a sense of belonging, finding a basis for convention and social interaction. So this idea of uses and gratification was proposed by Dennis McQuail. These ideas elicit enjoyment through the audience. The reason I targeted both of these is because identity is for people experiencing it, and for the integration are for people that do not experience this but should in some way sort of have a sense of empathy towards those people. I wanted to promote a message that when someone looks at this, they think, oh, it is quite a hard thing to go through. Because some people find jokes in, for instance, telling like, oh, your mum this, your mum that. My message and value is to promote peace and happiness towards my audience. My first ancillary task I completed as part of my A2 media coursework was my film poster for my short film. For this to be successful, I had to follow the genre codes and conventions of my own short film, thus representing clearly what my short film entails, but also being conventional to film posters at the same time. I did so through the iconography aspects of the poster, which includes a clear masthead, main image, cell lines, a small print credit at the bottom of the page. Through the use of these particular aspects in conjunction with the codes of convention of film posters, I could use this perfectly with prior knowledge of film posters production to create a well-intended poster. Firstly, I constructed my image, which is the main iconography of short film posters, using Photoshop to do so. I used multiple layers to make it look like young Olivia in a film is growing up, turning into the more pronounced Olivia in the image, the older Olivia. My reason behind this was so audiences could easily identify what the narrative could be about, considering the active audience theory, which suggests audiences play an active role in the interpretation of text. Audiences should connote that this narrative is about a young adult leaving her childlike state behind to grow up. This story is about letting go of one's past. Images of a short film poster should be able to explain the story well without looking further from the poster. I feel like I've perfectly inherited this code and convention onto my work, better eliciting a response from the audience. There is an identifiable challenge to film poster conventions in my main image, despite my conventional style, and my short film rejects the idea of male gaze theory. Laura Mulvey argued that the dominant point of view is masculine. The female body is displayed for the woman gaze in order to provide erotic pleasure for males. Women are therefore objectified by the camera lenses and whatever gender the audience is positioned to accept the masculine point of view. This is present in conventional short films posters to elicit a positive response to the audience, but my model shows no sexual or erotic tendencies, being fully clothed and without makeup to highlight this point. This is to empower my character and thus empower women over men, as the short film is meant to empower my character. Though staying conventional to my short film, I reject conventions of poster manipulation. The purpose of the masthead is important as it helps tell the target audience identity, as the name of the film is Dear Daddy. The font use stands out and says clean cut colour scheme. This is important. This is important to conventional short film posters as it demonstrates the genre of the film. For example, mismatched colours could be seen as comedy. Red, yellow, and orange can infer action, and in the case of drama, is represented by white, gold in many film posters. I stuck to this recognisable convention that I saw personally from drama short film posters, as audiences could see my content as recognisable also, as I am one in an audience. As the grading of my short film is dark and broody, conventional to drama genre, thus I did the same with my image, which amplifies the text as it stands out over the image entirely. My cell line and bylines are meant to pull attention to my short film. This is conventional to sell my short film by promoting the short film to be successful and entertaining, thus usage of reviews and usage of the star rating symbolises the short film to be interesting and successful. Sticking to the convention quickly tells the audience, without reading into the short film, how good the short film is. 4 out of 5 stars rather than 5 is more realistic and conventional, but I used more successful critics to demonstrate to the audience the popularity of my short film through reviews from Robert Ebert and The Guardian. Audience theory of social learning demonstrates how these popular models seem to like and use media text. Others will copy this eliciting response, thus conventional to posters that imply the same technique. As if someone is successful and believes that, people would believe that because it feels like they could be successful too. That is created from Bandura's SLT. In addition to this, my poster has small print at the bottom of the page which follows the codes and conventions of a film poster. This includes production information such as the producer, director, lighting, whom the main character is played by, and all the film's copyright information. However, because the font is so small, the audience's attention isn't taken away from the main image of masthead. The release date sticks out in the bold font to highlight when it comes out, which is also a common convention of posters. Differently, my magazine article is a double spread which consists of institutional information, an article explaining why the film was created, and some fun facts also, with a main and secondary image, which is highly conventional to most articles about film. Firstly, I needed a colour scheme that suited well and looked professional. This is a key convention, as a passive audience theory of ABC1 wouldn't accept this text. The reason my magazine would target to this demographic is due to this social group entails a high wage, thus an expendable income for my audience can purchase the product. The colour scheme represents a social group, so it has to be formal, thus conventional to the social norms of my target demographic. The article would be acceptable to my audience due to the information of the poster it presents and the uses of gratifications of information, finding out about relevant events and satisfying curiosity and general interest, learning, also self-education by gaining a sense of security through learning. Thus, an active audience would elicit positive responses to my magazine article. This is a common convention of magazine articles as it aims to entertain and gratify the audience. Thus, sales of magazines would improve. It was key to stick these conventions of my magazine article in order to be successful to the audience. My article could be seen as conventional as text boxes are used to stand out the information that is either important to the article, such as quotes in the case, but also as it differs from the article, such as my look closer section. This is, in turn, is meant to make the image look busy and conventional. Magazine articles' main image are busy and full of information. My byline of my image explains the image is also extremely conventional, as many magazine articles in film will also describe the context of the scene, so it makes sense to the audience without reading further. The body posture of my model is fixed. The secondary image sees my character's posture as empowering, as she looks almost down upon the audience. Yet in the main image, the model is seated down to demonstrate the love she shows in the short film. This is a conventional aspect of magazine articles, as it attempts to demonstrate what the short film entails through imagery. Also, my article is conventional and demonstrates my short film through the spatial behaviour, which goes on the same in my poster. Both characters are close together with their hands in each other, literally, so the audience could demonstrate that they may be one person together. In conclusion, the task set to create adhere well to common conventions of media, as to make content recognisable to a genre and accepted by audiences as something unique within its subculture. Being conventional but artistic is safe and creative as a design, as you know your work will be successful to the audience due to recognisable codes.